we were chatting off air, doing our usual catch up this morning. Hey, Kath. And
Yeah.
what we both discovered is there is a lot going on in our life. So we're like, you know what? We're going to show up completely real, no agenda, no plans, but to just, hey, let's be real. It's called Real
Yeah.
Life with Kath and Aly. Here we are.
Yeah. And, it's as much as what we started off this year, and it is, I still, it is a year of the Jubilee and a year to expect great things. And goodness, the challenges, though, and we were
Mm,
just sharing, there are sometimes days, weeks, months in the year in life
mm,
that are just big.
yeah. And I'm sure our listeners can all, if they're not in it right now, can recall a moment in time where it seemed like, what's that saying? Every time it rains, it pours. Like it's
Yeah.
not just like
Yeah.
a little trickle. It's like one thing happens and then something else, and then suddenly everything's happening at once, and you're like, oh my word, this is real life.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I also find myself, if I think, if yeah, warts and all, being really honest, those other moments when it's the complete opposite, when there's kind of
Mm,
like a drought and, talking
mm,
about raining and pouring when nothing's happening,
mm.
how impatient I get and how frustrated I get that this is so sort of boring. And yet
Yeah.
the pendulum swings to the other side and you're going, holy smokes,
Oh.
this is like just a bit much.
Yeah, it's interesting that, the pendulum doesn't stop midway. It doesn't just like sit nicely balanced very often, does it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are those glimpses, I suppose, as it swings midway, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So I thought, we thought it might be good just to share knowing that this is real life and
Mm,
that, it's moments like this are real for everybody.
mm.
How do we navigate these pockets when it all just seems to be happening at once?
Yeah, agreed. I was at where I work at rehab center recently, and one of the ladies like, "Oh my goodness, Al, do you ever even sleep?" I was like, yeah, I think I do. But sometimes, some weeks when you talk about your day, there's just a lot, right? There is an
Yeah,
absolute lot. And you know what? Even with us catching up and talking this morning already, you've kind of shared what's going on. I've kind of shared, and there's already a bit of a peace that has
yeah.
settled in my heart. I feel it. I don't feel as rushed, maybe because I was rushing to get to the podcast so we could like to do the recording on time. Um, but it's interesting, isn't it? It's that we're pausing and talking, but there's something in that.
Oh, absolutely. And I just love the fact that I could share that particularly in my world, it's been the last 24 hours has been
Mm,
crazy,
mm,
from medical emergencies to working emergencies to just unexpected
mm,
things all happening at once. And in
mm.
sharing it with you, I just loved how you listened. Um, with that, with a calming kind of and a smile on your face and kind of just that this is okay. Like you're
Mm,
okay. You've got this. And
mm.
I really appreciate the fact that you didn't jump on the bandwagon of, oh, yes, life is just so terrible. It's so awful. And, that we didn't do like a
We
spiral
weren't
down
in
pity party.
competition with each other. Oh, this happened to you. Well, wait till you hear what happened to me.
No, and I appreciate that about you that I could share and it was just I'm hearing you and yeah, it's a lot and but you've got this. So thanks. Thanks,
100%.
Al.
100%. And so, for people tuning in today, if your days feeling a bit like Kath and I's, I love the fact that we've got somebody in our world who understands, who we can share, who we can pour out our heart, who can receive without fixing stuff,
Yeah.
who you're reminded that you're not going to stay in this place forever.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that saying? This too shall pass.
I used to hate that
Yeah.
saying. I was like, but it's one of the truest sayings, and it comes to
Yeah.
my mind often. This too shall pass.
Yeah. It's like the seasons. I love that whole metaphor of, the seasons will change.
Hmm.
It's the thing about seasons.
Hmm.
Winter will never last
Yeah.
longer than what it's meant to, and
Yeah.
summer will always come round again. So yeah, yeah. So that's been just and I mean we've done podcasts before about your five, who've you got, your
Yeah.
top five in your world that you can turn to. And I think what's important is just reflecting on who you can talk to and when
Mm.
the floods come in life
Hmm.
that are going to be like it's not like a lifeboat to rescue you, but it's kind of like be like a lilo that comes alongside of you and you can just float together and know that you're going to be
Mm.
okay.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful picture. Just floating together.
Oh, goodness.
So where are we going to go with this conversation? So
Well, I
life,
would yeah,
yeah.
so when life gets really hectic, I think,
Hmm.
it's to just normalize it that this is a normal
Yes.
part of life. It happens to us all.
Yeah.
And it's often, really often, the stuff that's happening is stuff that we don't really have control over. So, there's some things that I can control or choose, and that is like connecting with a friend, like,
Mm.
yourself. I know we had it planned to meet today anyway, and it's
Hmm.
just great. And I'm so blessed that you are that person for me. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
that just worked off well. But if we hadn't had this talk scheduled, it's, who could I have called? But
Yeah.
in the same time, I love that reminder of just reminding myself that, you know what? It's not about whether this is fair or unfair, because let's
Mm.
face it, a lot of stuff happens that we didn't ask for and that might not be fair. But it's that reminder of what can I control and what can't I, and
Yeah.
just letting go of
Yeah.
what I can't control.
Yeah.
So I was driving back from a early appointment that I had this morning, driving back home to be here to do this recording, and in the car, I was just reflecting on the fact that, yeah, that these last 20 hours have been like massive.
Mm.
And yet I can let go of um a lot of it. There's a lot of it,
Mm.
about 90% of it probably is not in my control.
Yeah.
And so I can choose to let go. And for me, in my own personal world, part of that letting go is trusting God, handing it back over to God and just trusting
Yeah.
that he's got this because
Yeah.
I certainly don't.
Agreed. That's great. Can I ask, when you're speaking and you use the phrase let go, and we often talk about that, right? Let things go
Yeah.
and da da da. What is letting go? Like, what does that mean? Like, what's that mean to you?
Oh, Elle, big question. Goodness me. Well, for me, okay, letting go it's the, just not making it complicated. Like the
Yeah.
simple strategy of letting go is first of all recognizing what can I do anything about this or not?
Yeah.
And if I can't, like there's no point in me the narrative in my head and just
Yeah.
going round and round about,
Yeah.
focusing on the problem.
Yeah.
That's not going to be helpful.
No.
And I'm so grateful that coaching's taught me, and I've probably started, gosh, it's taken forever, but I've probably started doing this a little bit sort of on autopilot, is
Mm.
asking myself, what are the options here? What
Yeah.
are my solutions?
Yeah.
And when I recognize, what, actually in this right now, in the middle of where I am,
Mm.
it's not about me doing anything. It's really about me just letting go of the control. So in my mind, I kind of just picture, rather than trying to fix it, trying to change it, I
Mm.
recognize that that's not for me to do.
Mm.
So
I
I
love
pray,
that.
and then in prayer, I just hand it over to God and I said, Lord,
Beautiful.
I just thank you that you've got this because it's not for me to have this,
Yes.
and just to let go. I don't know how else to explain it, Al.
No, that's and all these thoughts are coming up in my mind as you're speaking because one is a Bible verse, and I'm going to quickly find that on my phone in a second. The other one is absolutely letting go. For me, I think about energy. Like we can spend
Yeah.
all the energy talking about all the problems in our head and reliving them and just talking about what's going on. And that
Yeah.
uses up a lot of energy. And that's not letting go. That's keeping hold of all of the information. And for us to be able to come up with a solution or to have some peace or to hand it over, if for those who believe in God, to be able to hand it to him, letting go is not wasting our energy, not spending our energy reliving all of the problems. It doesn't
And
mean
as
we're
I'm,
not
yeah,
looking for a solution. Like that's, you know,
yeah.
we have that's part of our job too. Like I mean, we need to do that, but that's a very different energy being spent than just allowing the thoughts to keep going round and round and round in our mind.
As I was hearing you share about the thoughts going round and round in our mind and focusing on all the problems, I could actually feel my gut tensing into a knot.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
can so like embody the tension and the anxiety of everything that's going on. And
Mm.
that to me is an indicator that I'm not letting go.
Yes.
If I notice in my body, things are, and for me, it's a gut thing. It's in my gut.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it in my gut, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps my shoulders too,
Shoulders
like
and
they
yeah.
get all tensed,
Mm.
and my teeth. I clench my jaw.
Yeah.
Uh, when I notice those signs,
Mm.
then I also notice, okay, Kath, it's time to let go. Just to,
Yeah.
and then a deep breath. Taking a deep breath in and almost like visualizing my jaw relaxing, my
Relaxing.
shoulders relaxing. That's sort of doing a mental scan through your body and just letting it all go. Sometimes
Yeah.
really helpful too. Um, but I think you are right. You made a valid point there. Letting go doesn't mean I'm being an ostrich, I'm ignoring. It doesn't. It just means uh, choosing. I love what you said about energy, choosing to not use up unnecessary energy
Mm.
worrying
Mm.
about something that I can't do anything about anyway.
That's right.
Um, and praying about it, for me, praying about it and handing over to God is very different to shoving it under the carpet. Yeah.
Agreed. And that also means that it's validating the emotions and our experience. So we
Yeah.
validate it. We're not saying, okay, we're sad, we're overwhelmed, any of those things, because the way we feel is real, and
Yeah.
it's a way of our body communicating. Oh, hang on to something. Hang on a minute. There's something going on, and that's all okay. But it's what we do with it. And when we do turn to prayer, we've admitted to ourselves that these feelings, what we're going through, is very, very real. It is out of our control, but we're placing it in the hands of somebody who do has some control. And there's this verse in Matthew chapter 11, and it's Jesus talking. And he says to me, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I'm humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Yeah.
I just love hearing you share that. And that's a verse like some of these verses we all know, if you're in the space and you can hear it so many times that it kind of just sort of loses its impact. But just
Mm.
hearing you share that today on a day where, yeah, the last 24 hours have been mammoth.
Yeah.
That just, oh man, I just feel this inner peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just humbling that I can sit here in the midst of, the rain that's pouring, all the stuff,
Mm.
and just still have peace.
Beautiful. Hey. And
Yeah.
it talks here, find rest for your souls. And when you think about it,
Yeah.
rest for your soul, like that's the absolute inner core of who we are.
Yeah.
How beautiful we can
And
find
it's
it.
and it's lovely that is possible even when there's all the stuff going on in the world
Mm.
around you. It is possible,
Yeah.
even doing life real, doing life tough, it's still possible
Yeah.
to find rest for your soul in the middle of it all, which
Yeah.
is,
It's
beyond
truly
understanding.
astonishing. That's exactly right. It completely is. It's that peace that surpasses all understanding, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So we briefly sort of shared it about it, sharing with somebody else what's going on and how that's
yeah.
this morning literally changed yours and my perspective, our heart. It changed the way our body was kind of feeling as well,
Yeah.
and sharing that was beautiful. And we've recognized that there are plenty of things that are outside of our control, but we know the one who is in control. So, and even if you don't, even if you're not sure what that looks like, to give it to God, being able to let it go in a way that means we're not reliving all of the problems and accumulating, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, potentially some days, all of
Yeah.
the problems. Because the minute you say it and you say it again and say it again, it's completely overwhelming. Our state is completely overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
so working out what letting go looks like,
Yeah.
and committing it to God and to prayer. And so I think that there's something else that we're doing here this morning. What do you think? Well, what are we
Yeah, and
doing?
we chatted about this before, and I think, that if you're listening, the third thing that we've both recognized as helpful is then just, once you've let go and let God, it's just being in the present,
Yeah.
focusing right now on, what is the thing in front of me right now?
Mm,
And I'm going to just give all my attention to what's
yeah.
in front of me right now. And for me, that's so joyful because it's talking to you, Al.
That's so sweet.
But it
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
like remembering that what I can do, there's a whole lot that I can't do, but what I can do is focus on what's right in front of me right now.
Agreed. This morning, I just share a little story. I took a group of people up Castle Hill early this morning, and for one person, it was their very first time on the goat track. And as you will
Okay.
well remember, Kath,
Yeah.
there's like, I think there's a total of, oh, it was on a signpost we noticed the other week, 1,420, I think, steps on this particular
Okay.
track. So this poor young lady, it was her first time. She's strong. She was
Yeah.
great, but we were getting, and she goes, "Is it much further?" I'm like, "It's not much further." And she just said, "Head down." I said, "Absolutely. It's the next step. And it's the next step. And it's just the next step." Because the minute
Yeah.
you look up and you see the whole flight of what feels like still 1,000 steps in front of you,
Yeah.
because, yeah, it seems too hard.
Yeah.
It seems too hard when you look at the whole big picture. And we're not meant to. We're not meant to
Yeah.
look at the whole big picture. It's the next step.
It's the next step. I love that metaphor. That is, and I mean, your lived experience of it actually, it's such a really good reminder because if we're just looking at the next step, it takes all the overwhelm away
Yeah.
because the next step
Yeah.
is possible and it is
Yeah.
doable and you've
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, it's been done before. It can be done again today. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
agree.
yeah.
And I remember I was sharing with this girl a story. I remember in Mount Isa, there's this track in Mount Isa, and it looks like it's almost vertical, right? But I knew people climbed it. And actually, I was on a walking, the very first time I did it, I was on a walking trail with a group of people. And some of the fellas went ahead and did it. And I was like, okay. And I got to the foot of it and looked up, and it's this scrambly, it's none of this like they do at Castle Hill,
Stairs.
putting
Yeah,
stairs in. It's just
yeah,
complete rugged. And I'm looking at it and I was just like, no, I can't do that. And I was really very, very nervous because I just thought I'm going to end up on my butt all the way down and it's going to hurt. And it's going to be embarrassing because everyone's going to see. And I very clearly remember standing there and just looking at the very next spot I could put my foot. I had a quick glance because sometimes you need to be mindful of what else is ahead to maybe
yes,
avoid getting stuck somewhere.
yeah,
But and it's just stuck with me forever, physically and then metaphorically. It really is being present. What is the very next thing that I have in my control that I can do right now?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And then
And I
often,
mastered that hill, by the way, and I didn't fall down and create free entertainment for everyone around me.
well done, Elle, well done. And and I love that just extending that metaphor a bit. It's often, if you glance up and you, as you said, your awareness of what's still to come. In that moment, glancing up, you might think, gosh, I have no idea how I'm going to do this or get there. But it's as we take each step, it's like the next step to take becomes clearer. It might not be
Absolutely.
clear when you look at it, but as you in
I
it
love
and
it.
taking the steps, it's amazing how, yeah, the
Mm,
next step kind of opens up before you and it's
mm.
there and you can take it. So,
Yeah. And you couldn't have
yeah.
planned for it before.
No,
So,
no, no.
yeah. Oh,
Oh,
wow.
so Elle, we've got this.
We do. And everybody listening, you've got this. As my
Yes.
mum always said, and as this too shall pass. And we will find ourselves on the other side looking back going, wow, that was a wild ride. And here we are. And I hope that's been a great encouragement for people tuning in
Yeah,
today. Consider who you are talking to or who you need to talk to, would like to, desire to, who will listen and hear you. Recognize what's in your control and give the rest,
yeah,
let go of the rest
yeah,
and give it to God and pray about it and be in the present each one step at a time. And I know from lived experience that this works. And Kath, next week's conversation is going to be very different because you're going to be on the other side of all of this.
great. Looking forward to that. And yeah, no, and it's absolutely right. So thanks, Al. I think this conversation couldn't have been more timely. We couldn't have
Mm,
planned it.
no
So
way.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Have a blessed day. Hey.
See ya.